this week on Canadian Whitetail.
2 encounters and 3 sits. I mean, sometimes it takes 2 years to get a couple encounters, so.
Deer hunting is a lot like life. It's not easy, and if you want results, it's a lot of work. And like life, there's no shortcuts, no workaround or easy way to your goals. And if your goal is to hunt the biggest free-range whitetails that have ever walked, it's 365 days a year of preparation and dedication. For us, that's all fueled by a passion for whitetails, and to share these hunts and the stories of these deer on film. As do-it-yourself hunters, success means a never-ending cycle of getting ready, scouting, and setting up, until all of that work is not work anymore and it simply becomes your lifestyle and what you do. And you do it so that when the season is finally here and it's time to head in and hunt, you have a chance. A chance for that one moment, that 1 second that we all dream about, a chance to experience that feeling that when all your hard work pays off, and that giant steps out. Gorgeous animal, unbelievable, incredible deer.
Dean Partridge's Canadian Whitetail is proudly brought to you by Ozonics, undetectable, undeniable. Limb Saver, products that work. Big and J long range attractants. The aroma is super strong. The range is super long. Excalibur crossbow, the most trusted crossbows on the planet. Under Armour, never detected, always lethal. Elite Archery, the world's most shootable bow. Central Boiler outdoor wood furnaces, performance and value by design. Bog Pod, monopods, bipods, and tripods. The Whitetail Institute of North America, premium food plot seed specifically engineered for whitetail deer. And by the Heater Bodysuit, #1 in cold weather hunting gear.
We're headed into a stand that to have a look at a couple bucks that Steve's got heaps of history with. One is Malty, who I think he was on the first season of Canadian Whitetail.
It was the legend Malty himself. I was watching Steve prepare, and just as quickly he unhooked his release, he was going to pass.
There really is a good reason that Steve just passed up on a truly legendary deer. Another deer at a different location that we really wanted to have a look at. And likely the biggest typical whitetail that we've ever had the honor to watch, film, or hunt. And a deer that we simply called Flaxie.
When we were about to have an encounter that we would not soon forget. He knows something's up. Steve, with an unbelievable stroke of luck, was just moments away from an opportunity at redemption as the giant closes the distance. But a burst of wind was about to make its mark. After getting busted once, well, heartbreaking is not even close to describing the feeling that we both had at this moment.
I mean, sometimes it takes 2 years to get a couple encounters, so.
Well, at least we know we're in his home core area, so the odds are for us right now, so.
And he's not as spooked as we thought.
Exactly.
On last week's episode, 2 monster bucks, one being a giant typical that was Steve's target buck, with whom we'd had 2 devastating encounters with. But tomorrow is always another day, and this week we bring you the conclusion on the hunt for the giant typical that we called Flaxie.
This segment of Canadian Whitetail has been brought to you by Hoyman Premium Tree Saws. Hoyman Premium Tree Saws, the first truly extendable folding saws. You're watching Dean Partridge's Canadian Whitetail, North America's premier wild whitetail show.
Well, it's a week later and we're back in the blind hunting the deer that we call Flaxie. But now this week, things are starting to not look so good after our 2 previous bad encounters.
We're just getting settled back in here with Stevie. Getting everything ready to roll. We haven't been in the stand for a week, eh?
Yeah, about that.
The wind's changed and they actually came in and combined the crop behind us, which threw everything off. We pulled the trail camera card here the other day, and he's been moving through here in the daylight a lot less, eh?
Yeah.
It really slowed down, but we're hoping that a lot of that has to do with them combining the field. I mean, it's literally 15 yards behind us. But we're starting to lose a little bit. We've said, and everybody's heard me and heard Steve say, that when you're hunting a specific buck, probably your best chance to take that deer is opening day, because you've been scouting right up to that day. Everything you know is current. The stands are fresh, everything. And every day that you hunt that deer, I think your odds go down a little bit. It's hard to know that we had him twice at under 20 yards with no shot, and knowing that time when hunting these deer is always an enemy. Early in the evening, a couple of does make their way, followed by our young buddy buck that's now become a regular. Unfortunately, that was the extent of our deer activity for the evening, and when light faded, we packed up to head out.
Whitetail Insights, brought to you by the QDMA, the Quality Deer Management Association, ensuring the future of whitetail deer.
A lot of the time, everyday hunters don't always have the time or the commitment or the tools to build and maintain food plots. But I know there's a lot of ways that if you don't have access to those items, that you can improve the deer's habitat, and that's something that I thought you'd have a lot of information on.
Absolutely, and and oftentimes we think about food plots as a great place, for deer to eat, like we have here, and deer obviously have made great use of this field during the summer, but oftentimes deer spend more time in the bush, in the wooded areas where we can provide tremendous habitat, both food and cover for deer, and in many cases make a bigger impact on the deer's overall health in those areas and use these food plots to supplement that.
Yeah, and we see that all the time. These plots are very specific for hunting season. They're orientated for times we want to draw those deer to that specific spot. But a lot of times the properties that we hunt, there's a lot bigger area there that can be improved than just that 3-acre plot that you want to hunt over.
That's right, and oftentimes we think of the bush as, we have woods there, but from a deer end, it provides a tremendous amount of food if we can get some sunlight into the ground. Yep. So if that whole thing is the same age, it's not nearly as valuable for deer as if we go in with a chainsaw or do a little work. We can cut some of those trees down so that we have very young growth, and some older stuff provide a lot of food, tremendous cover, at a much less expense for the average deer hunter. And from a deer perspective, whether you're out west here or in the east, most deer habitat really consists of 3 components. The food plots like we have here, forested areas, and really old fields that a lot of people overlook. And there's specific things and very easy things that folks can do in any 3 of those different components to really improve the deer habitat where they hunt.
Well, out of those 3 things, we talk a lot about food plots, the benefits, and how to do that. But the old fields and the wooded areas, what are some of the key things you can do there to really help increase the deer?
Wooded areas are great because they are providing food and cover for deer. So if a guy can go in and just make sure that you change some of the age of the forest by making sure you have some very young stuff as well as some older stuff. You provide cover in different areas, and those younger forests have so much more food, and it's right at the ground level where deer can take advantage of it. But we can easily go in, let some sunlight get to the ground by hinge cutting or cutting some of those trees, provide that thick flush of vegetation, and provide tremendous food and cover right where deer need it.
When you talk about utilizing these old fields, what do you mean by that?
Fields that used to be agricultural use or something that have gone fallow or starting to grow some vegetation that people often talk about as weeds are extremely important for deer. And basically, stuff, it could be an old food plot, it can be an old ag field that you just let to grow up a little bit. They can provide food and cover, and in many cases, they provide a lot of food at no expense to the landowner or the hunter.
So what about old pasture where they may not be operating with cattle anymore? Are you including that in your old field?
Absolutely, and that's many of the perfect examples of it because it's something that you're not using, but it's not gone back to bush yet, so it's not wooded. but so you get different plants grow there that the deer will want to eat. It provides good cover, and in many cases, it's extremely easy for people to do that type of habitat component. But most people don't realize the value of it.
That's a lot of great information, and if you don't own the land that you're hunting on, if you're just hunting on land that you have permission on, talk to that landowner and have some communication with them, because a lot of these things that Kip suggested, they're very low impact as far as that land value to the landowner who might be running cattle or agriculture. But it's going to have a big impact on the deer in the area and their overall health. And that deer's overall health, that's our goal, right?
Absolutely.
This Whitetail Insight is brought to you by the Quality Deer Management Association. Become a member and ensure the future of whitetail deer. This segment has been brought to you by Central Boiler Outdoor Wood Furnaces. A central boiler easily connects to your existing forced air, in-floor radiant, baseboard, or dual heat system to heat your entire home in domestic water. Central Boiler, performance and value by design.
Welcome back. Before the break, more days on stand without an encounter with Flaxie while it was starting to weigh in, and increasingly poor activity on a trail camera was compounding the fact that we may have missed our chance already at this giant. But with 1 week left to hunt before the season was set to close before the rifle season would open, we weren't giving up, and we were headed back in. October 6th.
Yep.
And Steve hasn't shot him yet.
It just didn't work out. I just couldn't get a shot at him in the good light, but he's still around. He's still coming, so.
Probably the biggest issue we're running into right now is they changed the seasons around in Saskatchewan the last couple of years because of the low deer numbers. And in 9 days, on October 15th, the season's closed, and not closed for a week or two. It's closed for 5 weeks. And if that isn't bad enough, when it does reopen after that big 5-week break, is rifle season, which we'll still be here hunting through with our bows. We always hunt through rifle season with the bows, but this is public land. It's all bluff country, so when rifle season opens, that means there's going to be guys driving through here, guys pushing it every other day. It makes getting these bucks a lot harder, and we may have to move down into the coulee here and choke up a little bit, eh?
Yeah,
but
we'll have to keep an eye on him and see what happens. And
on the plus side, we've got 9 days.
we got 9 days, yeah.
So hopefully we get the right winds.
We need 0.5 of a second.
Tonight, hoping to get our 0.5 of a second, this pretty doe is the first deer to arrive. With just this doe making an appearance and light fading fast, well, things look bleak. But with just one movement noticed down in the channel, in 0.5 of a second, things were about to change.
Welcome to this week's Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment. Locate, learn, set up, hunt. Brought to you by Big & J Long Range Attractants. The aroma is super strong. The range is super long.
That saying can hold a lot of truth in the deer woods as well, that sometimes less is more. And we're often asked why seldom, if ever, we hunt mornings. And there's a very specific answer. The majority of our hunting is done on or near food sources and field edges, and these fields are where the deer head to in the afternoon, feed for the evening, and return from early in the morning. With that said, for us to hunt the morning, we'd have to walk across that field early in the morning, almost certainly bumping deer. And that's not going to help me get an encounter with that target buck. I'd rather pick and choose my opportunity to get in and out undetected, and more often than not, that's in the afternoons and the evenings. During this time, the deer are not active, on the move, or feeding, giving me the chance to get into the stand without bumping deer. And at the end of the evening, there may be deer on the field, but I have the advantage of already being there. I can see what deer are where, and I can make an exit plan accordingly to reduce my disturbance. Like all things deer hunting, there's very few hard and fast rules, and it's not that we never hunt mornings. If we are hunting during the rut, or in deep timber, catching the bucks, looking for does and cruising ridges, we'll certainly hunt the mornings and all day. Likewise, in the early season, if we have a stand set up and our scouting says our best chance is in the morning, we'll make a plan to do that. However, generally, while hunting food sources and field edges, waiting for those optimal times of the day to be in the deer stand will often yield increased results. And that's your Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment for the week.
This week's Canadian Whitetail Scouting segment has been brought to you by Big & J Long Range Attractants. You're watching Dean Partridge's Canadian Whitetail, North America's premier wild whitetail show.
The ups and downs of targeting a specific buck can surely start to take their toll. And we might have been feeling a little bit down, but things were about to pick up, and pick up fast.
Just coming along the edge of that bush. See it walking right over front of us. I think it's a buck. It's got that slaughter. Is it here? It's him.
Just moments before it being time to pack up, it happened. A third encounter with the giant typical buck. Cautious like any mature deer, this time he swings broadside within range, and Steve is ready.
What do you think about that? Wow.
About 10 seconds earlier, we just said it was the slowest night we've had in here, probably of all, eh?
Yeah. It was unreal. I just looked up the channel and I said, here comes a deer, and I'm not sure what it was, and you put the camera on and you said it was him, and then wow.
There's no doubting. I think we're going to give him a few minutes. The arrow went right through. You can see the arrow come out the other side. So we'll give him a few minutes, slip out there and grab the arrow and go back to the truck and have a look at the footage. The arrow there, the shot looked good. It's hard to tell when you're looking through the camera, and Steve was a little excited.
Yeah. Still shaking.
After watching the footage over and over again, our concern and waiting in anticipation on the Flaxie buck, well, it wasn't over just yet, as after careful review, we elected to leave him until morning.
There's some blood here. There he is.
What's over there?
What's over there? Who dat?
I seen that.
Who dat, huh? All right.
Oh my lord.
Looky what we got here, buddy.
Isn't that something?
Oh, yeah. Oh, oh yeah. There we go.
That's not even right. Steve.
Wow.
That, I mean, he's a giant. He's a giant.
He's awesome.
Well, Steve, congratulations.
Thanks, buddy. We got her done.
That's a pretty incredible deer.
Isn't he something?
The first night, it was too late.
Yep.
He swung around. We were all packed up, ready to go. We had everything taken down, our ozonics taken down, and when he left, he swung out into our wind and nailed us. We thought there was a good chance we were done. We didn't know if he hit our wind or our scent trail, what had happened. 2 days later, he walked right in broadside, broad daylight, hey?
Yeah.
And Steve
Yeah.
pulled his bow up to start to draw. He just turned, walked away, and followed some does back out to the field. And just about enough to make a guy cry, hey?
It was, yeah.
But that's part of the fun of doing it, you know, it's just like the challenge of bow hunting. To film these hunts, it's pretty incredible to film an animal like this. And then last night, it all happened, and it was pretty exciting for me. I mean, it's Steve's deer, but it's pretty exciting for me to run the camera again because it's a deer that we both watched. And, I mean, we filmed Steve take a deer last year, which was a great deer, but, I mean, this is just he's a mega buck, you know? He's just a once-in-a-lifetime deer. And I'll tell you, you know, I couldn't see a better guy getting a chance at this deer. You know, I lost my dad when I was pretty young, and he was my kind of hunting mentor. And, you know, when my dad died, a lot of the hunting friends and that just dissipated, and not Steve. Steve was there, and he made sure that through those years that I kept going out in the bush and And then this all started, we started the show, so to be able to film your buck of a lifetime, I mean, I can't even explain it. It's just an incredible feeling to be a part of it. It's a beautiful deer, and you're just so deserving of a deer like that. So congratulations again, Stevie.
Thanks, buddy.
Closed captioning for Canadian whitetail is provided by huntsask.ca, your information source for Canada's best whitetail hunting. Hunt Saskatchewan, Canada. Canadian Whitetail has also been brought to you by Ramcat Broadheads, hits like a ram, cuts like a cat, Kula Buck, portable walk-in cooler systems, Scott Archery, CBE bow sights, and Black Eagle arrows. Canadian Whitetail has also been brought to you by these fine sponsors. For exclusive content, follow Dean and the team on Facebook, as well as on Instagram and Twitter @WhitetailDean. For Canadian Whitetail gear and apparel, visit CanadianHuntShop.com.